Boom. Hey, what's up? Kelsey Abbott.
Hello, Freeze. How are you?
I'm good. It's so good to see you. Are you coming to us from your house?
I am at my house in Nashville. So yes, that's where I am. I'm currently in my dining room. I have a view of the kitchen right now.
Oh, I love that. I love the natural lighting. Do you like to do a lot of work in your dining room? That's actually what I like to do too.
I always do like any homework or anything I have out here. And I've been doing like my online classes out here and everything because it's just like if I go in my room, I feel like it's just like dark and lonely and like it feels so open and bright out here. So I love it out here.
Yeah, right. I'm the same way. I live in my basement, but I have to go upstairs and
Hmm.
be with everybody when I work. Just like kind of be around people a little bit and be around some sunlight and
Yeah.
helps keep me positive. It's so good to see you. So we main thing that I want to plug today
Yeah.
is that you're working on some new music. I think, and you've even got a song coming out in the next week or two. Is that right?
Yes, like in probably a few weeks. Like late September is kind of the timeline we're shooting for. So we're gonna like finalize that official date probably this week for the song to come out. But I
Cool,
am so pumped, Freeze. I am
dude. Cool. Why are you so excited? Is it a change of direction?
It's very different. I knew I wanted to do something different moving forward from like the last EP and the last single. Like I knew I was craving like some kind of different sound, kind of like a different process as well. Like I really, really wanted it to be like super collaborative and just like kind of like experimental and have the time for like trial and error. Yeah, I
Right. Yeah.
really, really knew I wanted that, but like I didn't know how to get it. And so I went over one day to work on some demos with Bryce. And I had written this song when I was home over quarantine called All My Friends. And I sat down and I just played it for him, just me and the guitar. That was all I had. And I was like, yeah, I just kind of like want to do a demo of this. So we just kind of ran with it, did not know what direction we wanted it to go in, had no ideas, nothing at all. Um, and so we did like a scratch track. Johnny was just like roaming around the house and he was like, if you guys need drums, like I'd love to play. And so we're like, yeah, sure, like come in. So we figured out like a drum part and he just like, I think we did like two drum takes, maybe three. We were like, that's perfect, cool. Just a demo, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and at the end of that day, I think we had acoustic guitar, rough vocals, and drums. And Bryce and I like just kind of looked at each other, and I was like, I think we should roll with this. I think like we should record this with the intention of releasing it and not just a demo. And he was like, yeah, I'm kind of thinking the same thing. Like we both just kind of like had this feeling about it. And
Wow.
so yeah, for the next like few weeks, we just completely like built the song from the ground up and like really like worked as a team on it. Like it felt like Bryce and I were like really like a team, like both so excited about it. Like Bryce was just like writing all of these amazing parts, like just like out of nowhere we would have these ideas and it just like started to build like layer by layer. Like it was really like nothing else I had done before. And like every time I talk about it, I get so excited because like the process just like made me really excited. And like, you know, I had been home like 2 months prior to this and I was like really missing like, you know, making music with people that I loved. And I feel like it just like was after those 2 months of doing nothing, like coming back to that, just like my adrenaline was like through the roof and it was
Yeah.
so fun. And the final product is nothing like I would have expected, honestly, but it is like everything I could have wanted and more. And it really like I think kind of like encapsulates what I want my like sound and voice to be. And I think
Whoa.
Bryce really helped me find that. He really did. And Evan Ward too was a big part of it. He wrote some parts. He was always there with me and Bryce helping out, like chipping in. And Grant sang on it. I mean, Johnny played. It was like a very
Cool.
team effort. I'm so excited.
Wow. Wow, that sounds so exciting. That's
Yeah.
cool. So are we allowed to know, is this like just one standalone single? Are we working towards like a greater sum or like a collection of singles?
Yeah. So I definitely am planning on doing a decent amount of singles, probably like for the next few months, like through like the end of this year, probably beginning of next year. Because
Cool.
the last thing I really did was the EP, so I kind of just want to put like, you know, decent amount of singles out, and then like in my mind, I think like it'd be cool if they like eventually turned into like a project as one.
That's awesome. So to go through some of those names that you were naming, just for people who don't know,
Yeah.
Bryce Dubray is the one engineering and helping with production.
Yes.
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 Bryce has been involved in your project since at least I came across the project. I remember seeing him play guitar for you at the end a couple of years ago. And then S. Grant Parker, you said, recording some BGVs. Johnny Hobson, who's in a band with Bryce Dubray, Future Crib, is helping out with tracking drums, you say?
Yeah.
And I guess, are y'all doing all of this at their house over at Valeria?
Yep, we did all of it there.
Cool. The Valeria Manor, I think is what, or no, Chateau Valeria, I think that's what they call it, as I just was informed. That's cool. And then Evan Ward, who I just comedically still have never met. At this point,
Never met Evan?
it's just a laughing matter. Yeah, I hear about him all the time from you. I want to meet him so bad.
Oh my goodness, you should have him on here one day.
Yeah, right. I would maybe that's how we could get this role in our friendship, and just be talking with him on this. I know y'all also. I thought I saw y'all's pictures on a album cover that I was listening to this song by this church, but the pictures looked kind of similar to y'all. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I think it's called like the Divine Church, maybe something like that.
I've heard of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know a little bit about what they've been up to, but I don't know them personally.
Yeah, right. Kind of weird how they look like y'all. Anyway, that's, I guess, whatever. So that's exciting that you're working on all these new singles. Yeah, it's crazy how quickly a year or two can go by without putting out music. Like
Right?
once you put it out, it's like a breath of fresh air. You got to take a little bit of a break and like, wow, I just did that. And then you're also like touring and you're in school. And all of a sudden it's like, that was what, like March 2019?
Yeah.
It was like a year and a half ago.
Yeah, and I put a single out called January.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, last December, but still like it's just the time has like gone by so fast. And also it's just been like a very weird year, you know? So like a lot of plans that I had, and I'm sure you had to, just completely were just kind of like delayed.
Oh yeah, totally. It's weird. You think about yourself as an artist first and foremost, it's like, that's what I do.
Yeah.
But then putting out songs isn't always my top priority. Like if you are working on a tour or just have life stuff going on, it's like, yeah, like I feel the same way. Like all of a sudden I'll be like, I can't believe Wisteria came out over a year ago. That is just crazy to me. You know what I mean?
Crazy.
Yeah. When you did put out Dreaming with My Eyes, that collection, I got to perform at your release that you had over at it was at the Bongo Java After Hours. Is that what it's called? I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was such a cool night.
I think that was around the time that I was like getting to know you, I think. I'm trying to remember exactly.
You remember when we met? I don't. I can't.
I was just thinking that. I can't remember like the moment we met. I remember like seeing you play at Freeze Fest, like my freshman year of college. And then like I think just like through Bryce and Grant, I think we just like crossed paths and like eventually became good friends. But I can't remember the moment that we met.
Yeah. That's funny because I feel like to broaden it a little bit, you and I feel like I've always felt like a kind of kindred spirits. We have I think a similar approach to how we make art and how we do the whole thing. So it's funny that both of us wouldn't be able to remember that because I don't think either one of us are particularly detail oriented.
No, I would not say so.
but I do remember now Bryce showing me this like post you had of like all these gigs you were playing. And he was like, yo, I met this girl. I don't even think he's playing with you. He's like, I met this girl, Kelsey, who is like working really hard. He was like, she makes pretty cool music and like is just out there like gigging all the time. He's like, I have a lot of respect for her. I hope you get to meet her someday. And I think that was before y'all were even playing together.
That's crazy. Oh
yeah.
I love that.
I think did you hit the ground running? Like when you came to Belmont, did you just start playing shows pretty much immediately?
Yeah, right when I got to Belmont, I knew I wanted to start a band and like start playing shows. Like I had always known that ever since like I was in high school, that right when I got here I wanted to just like go for it. And so I remember I posted in the Belmont Facebook group like, hey guys, looking to start a band. You know, I want like a drummer, guitar player, bass player, yada yada yada. If anybody's interested, let me know. Would love to get together. And I had like these few people comment on it, and like I got with them, this initial band that I had, and like played my first few shows with that group of people. And then eventually that just kind of like faded out. It was kind of just a more like, I want a band right now. I'm going to do whatever I can. And then slowly, I feel like within like the first 6 months to a year that I was here, I kind of began to find my people, you know? And then I found the people that I like musically really actually like clicked with, and like they got me and I got them. And then I feel like I kind of like started to form more of like my actual like band and team and close musical friends and stuff like that.
That's cool. Yeah. It was the same way for me. I just started playing gigs, and then the members continued to change. And over time, it's slowly become a little bit more of a consistent lineup. But even now, sometimes I'll book shows and Johnny or Bryce can't play, or Grant or Smod, Trevor, whoever it is, and I'll have to like switch it up. And sometimes it's kind of exciting. It is nice to have consistency. I've always been jealous of like actual bands, how they can just like always be like a band. But also you just don't know, like someone else shows up to play bass, or maybe, with all the guys that we both work with, it's like maybe Johnny will hop on drums instead of guitar because there's no drummer. And then it's like, whoa, that's pretty fresh actually. Like you get some I feel like I gain a lot of ideas through the constant stream of collaboration. You know what I mean?
That is so true. And getting to just like play with new people and kind of like hear their take on the same songs. I agree. That's a good way to look at it, because I sometimes feel like that same kind of like jealousy of like, dang, like people who like have like an official band, like dang, they got it good. But also there's like the other side of it too. So I like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there definitely is advantages to both. Have you ever thought about forming like a band as opposed to going by Kelsey Abbott?
I think if that were to ever naturally happen, I would be totally open to it. Like I think just like, as long as I was like making music I loved, I would be completely happy and content. So I would be open to that if it ever happened. And I think I definitely am becoming more and more open to like that team collaborative kind of idea versus just like wanting to do everything or trying to do everything on your own, because it's just like it's hard.
Yeah, it is hard. And it's kind of funny. I feel like we both have caught a little bit of that contagious spirit from Future Crib, because they're such advocates for collaboration within the process, and also just like what you're saying about like turning a demo into the song. Like to them, it's just about like if it feels good. And sometimes I think before meeting them was more caught up on like making sure it sounded like studio professional. But in like a kind of in a certain sense, like everything that I put out that's recorded and engineered by Johnny and Bryce, it does sound professional, but it's different. And the way that you reach that point isn't in a big fancy studio when you work with them,
Yep, I've definitely learned the exact thing that you're talking about, like in this past year, just like kind of like being more open to trying new things. And like the result of that is sometimes like such a more creative like final product, and it's so worth it. It really is.
Yeah, right. Well, that's interesting. I think particularly with your genre of music, I'm interested in what inspires you to like move more towards like a DIY scene, like the way that you play and tour is like a DIY like artist. A lot of times the music that would maybe be a little bit more rock oriented or like indie, but at times I also think you have a strong like country and Americana root that could also be maybe marketed and presented and performed in more of like a mainstream way, or like you could be like trying to play closer to Broadway. What inspires you to like lean more towards like the house parties and stuff like that,
Yeah, I think like when I was in high school, I definitely leaned more towards that like folky kind of Americana kind of roots. And I think like that's where my songwriting always kind of lies, like especially when I write by myself. That's kind of just like what I tend to create. And I feel like my voice kind of like fits that sound as well. And so the EP, a lot of those songs were songs that like I did start in high school, which is so weird. So I feel like it was kind of like showing off like that just like singer-songwriter kind of Americana side of me, which was definitely like a big part of me and still is. But I think like, you know, in the last year, like kind of being more open to, like I was saying, like the whole like creative, collaborative, experimental kind of side of music, I think I can kind of even see myself in the future going more into that kind of like indie alternative sound. I feel like that's kind of like what I'm becoming more interested in now, and kind of like having the time to like experiment with that. So I think even though when my music was more folky, I've always been drawn more to the DIY scene just because it feels so much more like organic and supportive, and just like exciting to me than I think maybe going to play a show on Broadway would be. And like there's nothing wrong with that, and I'm sure honestly that can be so fun too, but I think for me, I think I've always just clicked more with the people in the whole DIY scene, and kind of like the way they do things and the way like they support each other and work together has always just been like so appealing to me. And like I feel like I just kind of ended up in that like kind of scene. I feel like I didn't even plan for it to happen. It was just like I met people that were in that scene, like fell in love with all of them, and then that's kind of like what led me to be there.
Yeah, right. That's
Yeah.
cool. That makes sense. I always also feel like it's like, for me, what keeps me wanting to like stay more on the DIY and like, you know, relational uh friend building, like touring and stuff like that, like as opposed to trying to go like more mainstream with like getting a
Yeah.
label and management, which maybe I will one day. But for now, what has drawn me more towards that, at least for starting, is that I feel like it's more in a lot of ways consistent and
Mm.
like safe, and safe not in the terms of like taking a risk, but like I've just seen now since like college, I feel like a lot of friends who are waiting on a big break, and sometimes and it's just, that seems really scary, and it seems like they're putting a lot of weight and something out of their control. And I feel like with DIY touring, it's like I feel like I can take control and be like, I know when I go on this tour, when I come back, I will have like gained more fans or like
Yeah.
built more momentum on my own rather than like waiting for something. You know what I mean?
I completely know what you mean. Yeah, it's kind of like a way to create like a plan for yourself without relying on like somebody else to do it. It kind of gives you like that path, like you said, that you're in control of. At least for now, you know, who knows what's going to happen in the future, but it gives
Yeah.
you that like flexibility and control right now without having to wait for anyone.
Yeah. Do you ever get worried like that you're not making the right business decisions? Like sometimes I'm like, man, should I be like pitching to labels right now? But every day when I wake up, I don't think about doing stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot. Like, am I doing this right? Like, what am I doing enough? What else do I need to be doing? How do I do it? Like, if I let my brain go there, I can definitely let myself freak out a little bit just because like
Yeah, right.
there's always so many things you could be doing, but there's no way to do all of them at the same time. But like sometimes like I put that pressure on myself, I think, to like try and do everything. But it's not possible. It's literally not
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's not possible. Do you think that you will do you think you'll finish school at Belmont?
Well, I am actually graduating in November.
What?
Isn't that crazy?
Are you serious? Wait, this
Yeah,
is your junior year though, right?
this is my senior year.
This is your fourth year at
This is my
Wait, really? I didn't know that. Okay, cool. And so you're graduating a semester early?
Yeah. So I just like threw a few more credits on my schedule this semester and last semester, so I could graduate a semester early. And I am so happy I did because
Wow.
if there was more, if I had more than one semester left, I don't think I would make it through.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like hanging on by a thread. I think I'm just at that point. I think I have kind of been at that point for a while where I'm kind of like have been questioning like, did I do the right thing by like
Yeah.
finishing and like getting a degree in songwriting? Like, was it worth it? And kind of asking myself all those questions. And I think at the end of the day, like, I'll be happy I did it. And obviously, like, if it happened, it was meant to go that way. But I definitely, if I had more left, I don't know if I would make
Yeah,
it.
right. Totally. What inspires you to finish out and get the degree instead of like, just working on, you could, I don't know. I mean, in the one sense, it's like school is a big time commitment. In some ways, when I was in school, I was like, maybe it's not. Like, maybe I could just finish this. I was always going back and forth. What inspires you to just like finish it out?
I think right now, the fact that I, am so close, I think like I am motivated to just go ahead and like finish it since I have like, put a lot of work into it the last few years. But I
Hmm.
think, I have felt so torn because I've had some classes that I have felt have just kind of been pointless in my eyes that make me kind of question it. But
Yeah.
then, every semester, like I will have like that one class or that one professor that like I really love and like I feel really close to. And I feel like, I can like ask for advice, like, for like moving forward with music and like questions that maybe like, I wouldn't have the answer to. So I think for me, at the end of the day, like the thing that has made it worth it and the thing that kind of like has kept me going is the professors probably.
Really?
uh, yeah, that's probably the thing like I'll take away the most because I feel like I'll like so many of them I'll be able to reach out to kind of like forever, and I feel like that's
Hmm.
a cool part of it. But I definitely have questioned it like every semester.
Yeah, right. That's cool. I didn't know that you were a songwriting major. I know a lot of people who go to Belmont and study music, but
Mhm.
songwriting, isn't that like that's like a little bit smaller of a major, right?
Yeah, it's pretty small. I feel like I've kind of like met most of the people in the major and the classes are pretty small, which I really like that aspect of it. I feel like it would be a different experience if it was really big and not so personal.
Yeah. What is it? I mean, do you feel like you've learned how to write better from those classes? What can they teach you? I'm sure a lot of people say, oh, like school can't teach you how to write a song. I personally also took songwriting classes and felt like I did learn.
Yeah.
I think I could have still made music without them, but it's cool to learn some rules even if you choose to break them. I don't know. Yeah, what are y'all learning in those kind of classes?
Yeah, so it's not so much like learning how to write a song. It's, you
Hmm.
like you apply, you kind of like already kind of have like, some history with songwriting. And then they kind of just like work one-on-one with you and like they'll like pair you with people to write with. They're like we'll do like critiques and we'll kind of like talk about like a specific song or like a specific type of writing style or in one class we had a whole class kind of about like sync and like how to write for sync and like how to pitch your songs for sync.
Cool.
um, and it was kind of the same thing with the songwriting classes. I felt like it was super hit or miss for me because some of them were very like commercial oriented, like these are the rules and it's like you guys are going to write a pop song, you're going to write a country song. And I think those were the classes that I didn't love because I felt
Yeah.
I was like being kind of like told like the right way to write a song, and I didn't like that. But I did have some classes that were more like kind of about like your individual artistry and like your individual writing style and like how to kind of like make yourself a better writer and learn from like your teachers who have done it forever, like from your classmates, and just kind of like be in that environment. So same thing, like some classes I loved, some classes I didn't, but all the professors I did love, and I feel like they were definitely helpful
Yeah.
as a writer.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was on the phone last night with a student who's about to go into college next year, and he was
Mm,
talking about he wanted to ask me about my experience at Lipscomb, and I had a pretty similar answer. I was like, well, there's going to be problems everywhere.
yeah.
Sometimes I was in classes it felt a little frivolous, but I felt like my professors are what made it something that I'll always look back on, and the students in the community as well. But like in terms of the actual academics, you know, I felt like my professors would be my friends and like add me on Facebook and like keep up with my music, and I don't
Yeah.
know, it felt like real relationships. You know what I mean?
I know that
It's
part
very
of it
special.
is pretty sweet.
Yeah. So I guess one last question about that is it the major geared more towards like being a songwriter who gets like a publishing deal, or is it more about just like learning how to the craft of songwriting in any sense? Because you said there are some creative classes and ideas.
It's definitely a mix of both. I think I would say it's more oriented towards like being a professional songwriter and kind of like how to make an income from doing so.
Yeah.
I think that was another thing that I did kind of struggle with was I don't ever see myself being just a songwriter.
Really? You wouldn't want to get like a publishing deal and like write hits?
Maybe one day down the road, but like I just don't think I would feel like completely fulfilled like just writing songs for other people, because I love writing, but I think like the main thing I love about music is like the creative process and like the artistry of it, like writing a song, but then also like creating the sound and like recording the song and then like releasing it and taking it and playing it live and like seeing how people react to it, and like the whole entire process I think is like what fulfills my heart.
Yeah,
So I think cool. Like, I think maybe one day like I would be open to something like that, but I definitely don't think like that's what I really see myself doing. So I think it was a little weird program, since that's kind of what it was about. But I think once again, like a lot of the professors kind of like were open to kind of more talking about like the artistry side of things and like looking at like people's songs like for themselves versus like for the industry. So it definitely just depended on the class, but I think a lot of people were in it to be songwriters.
That's cool. Yeah, that makes sense. How did that align with your coming to Nashville? Like what was your idea moving to Nashville for one, and then going to intentionally coming here to study songwriting at Belmont? Like what did you perceive happening when you came here, and how is that different from what's actually happened in the last like three and a half years?
Yeah, I always knew, like, ever since middle school, I knew I wanted to come to Nashville, just because like
Really?
yeah, I had just like heard and seen like all these people that like went to Nashville to do music, and I just like had that in my mind, and like it wasn't gonna leave. Like I knew I was going, and like there was no question. And so like I started to visit Nashville in high school with my parents and my family, and we would come and I would like do silly things. Like I would like take demos like into labels. Like I would like walk in to a label and be like, hi, here's my demo, and give it to them. Which like, that's not a thing that you do, but I would do it like in middle and high school.
I don't know. I've never done it. Maybe it works. I don't know.
Well, it didn't work for me.
Right.
But I loved Nashville ever since I would visit in high school. And so like I remember I knew I wanted to be here, but I also in high school like I wanted to go to college too and like do something with music, but not something like super like classical or like anything like that, which a lot of like music schools are more focused on. So like I was like, okay, well like maybe if I could do something with songwriting, because I felt like that has always like been one of the things that I do love the most. And so like I remember looking up schools in Nashville that I can major in songwriting. And would you look at that? Belmont was the first one to come up. So I was like, well, I guess I'll apply to Belmont and I'll apply to MTSU because they had a songwriting program too.
Yeah.
And so I knew I wanted to come here and just like, pursue music full time, even being in school. Like, like we said, like start a band, start playing, start like meeting people. And I feel like that's kind of what I did. Like, I feel like what I wanted to do and what I did aligned pretty well. Like, I feel like I came here and like, I've loved it. I really have. I've loved it.
Wow. That's really cool to hear. That's awesome. That's cool that you feel like it's like lined up pretty well. Do you, when you graduate this coming November, are you planning on sticking around and just doing music while you're here?
Oh yeah. I definitely see myself staying here for a good while. And just keep like kind of doing what I'm doing. I know like a lot of people feel a lot of pressure when they graduate to like, like find like a full-time job and yada, yada, yada. But me and Bryce talk about it all the time. Like we don't really feel that same pressure because like once we graduate, like we're just going to have all of this more time to work on the thing we want to be working on. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like more of an exciting thing than like a scary thing.
I think that's true. I definitely felt the same way. I will say dropping out kind of it happened quicker than I expected.
Yeah.
Like the idea of dropping out is really sexy. It's like, oh, I might drop out.
Yeah.
People always talk about it, like, well, I could just drop out. And then the day you do it and you're like leaving campus and you're like, this isn't a place that I belong anymore. And now all of a sudden I have dropped out. It does. I think the expectations hit me a little bit more than I was expecting in some ways. But
Mhm.
on the other hand, when you are just like, when you know that all you want to do is pursue music,
Yeah.
it like, you're right. I at least I also can relate to not feeling a ton of that pressure. Like I just
Mhm.
feel, I mean, even now, I'm like 2, 3 years out. I'm living with my family,
Mhm.
but I don't feel the social pressure at all.
Yeah.
That like a lot of people would, with like the connotation of like moving back in with your parents or like not having a job. But I don't see it like that at all because I just only can think about how much I care about this dream. I think when you're focused on that dream, it just makes it just fills you with like enough confidence to keep rolling. At least
Yeah.
personally, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yes, I totally get that. It's like most of the time the excitement and like love and passion outweighs like the fear,
Yeah.
all of the stuff that goes with that. And I think every once in a while for me, like the fear will kind of like start to take over and I'll
Yeah.
like let myself freak out a bit. Then every time like the excitement and love and passion like comes back up again and like just takes over. And I feel like that's what makes us like keep doing what we're doing, because if
Right.
like that passion like stopped outweighing the fear, I feel like that's where people kind of like lose sight of what they love.
Yeah, totally. I think during quarantine I've been up against the beast like for more than I thought I would
Mhm.
have to be anymore. Like some things that I hadn't even felt since like high school or like early college, like I feel like have revisited me without being able to tour. Like I just feel really like I feel pretty directionless. I don't really I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I
Mhm.
realized I really just don't know how you grow a music career without touring. Like
Yeah.
I've always been confused by the internet. I know that you can like grind it out on YouTube or TikTok or something, but I just like I don't know, like I haven't gained a single follower on Instagram or like I gained some and I lose some too and it's like
Yeah.
I started being like wow, like I don't feel any like movement or dynamic to like what I'm doing. Like I'm starting to feel like I'm
Yes.
not gonna ever like build this anymore. And I
Mhm.
you know what I mean?
I relate to that so much. And I have been feeling the feelings you're talking about so strongly, like the past few months, because I don't think I realized like how much I was going to miss playing live and playing shows and like also being at shows. Like I did not
Yeah.
realize like how much of an effect that would have like on my like motivation and just like my everything. Like it's been so
Yeah.
weird. And like it made me realize like I think that I feel like the most fulfilled when I'm playing shows. And like I feel like that's where I like get that push and that like adrenaline rush. And so like not having that and like not having that like you were saying like one-on-one like connection with people, like face to face versus like on Instagram, it's so different. And like these past few months have just like shown me like how different it really is and like how important shows are. And it makes me so sad when I think about it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I feel the same way.
Mm-hmm.
If I think about it, I mean, a lot of days I wake up and I just try to focus on that day, and I'm just like
Yeah.
things like this podcast or like other just like projects that I'm doing. And if I
Yeah.
can do that, some days I can go the whole day and feel pretty solid. But if other days when I start thinking about touring, I mentioned this when I was talking to Sma the other day. Like I went into a Pilot gas station and saw these truckers at like 10 p.m. They're like filling up their cups of coffee, and then they got back on the interstate, and it like made me cry. Like I know that sounds silly, but it was just like I saw them on the open road, and I was just like, man, there's nowhere else I want to be, but just like with
Oh,
my friends, just like driving through the night. You know what I mean?
And like getting coffee at a gas station.
Yeah, just like getting coffee, just whatever it is, like to stay awake. And, it's like that when you're on the road, there's just the purpose is as linear as the road. Like it is such a good metaphor because you're just shooting forward and you're like, you wake up and you're like, my purpose for the day is to get to Baltimore and I'm driving straight there, and I'm going to play a show. And then when the show's over, you're like, I played the show. Now I'm going to rest. It's just like you are on this track and it feels so purposeful. And every day you're meeting real people. Then you get on social media and you're gaining followers.
Yeah.
And you're just like, wow, this is how I'm going to like survive. Like, this is how I'm going to be a musician for the rest of my life. Like, I'm going to build this following of friends. And losing that, it's just so confusing. I genuinely am now even more baffled by all my friends who like don't ever tour. Like, I'm genuinely curious if you have any ideas on like, how do you do this thing without touring? Like, what gives people purpose? I mean, obviously making the art is purposeful, but when you put it out, like I put out Fight Song the other day and I was just like, cool, it's out. Now what do I do? Just like repost people's Instagram stories. And then it felt like it's over. I'm just like, I'm confused,
Yeah, it's just not the same. I think like having that personal face-to-face connection and like playing your song for people live. Like I don't think any Instagram live video or any online live video could compare to like that feeling for the artist and the feeling for the audience of like being at a show and like having that interaction and like hearing the song in such like a distinct way from the artist. Like I don't know how. I guess it really just depends like on the person and like where they feel the most fulfilled from their art. But I feel like I don't know either how people could do it without having some aspect of like of touring or live shows mixed in. I think it would be really hard. I think people are realizing that right now since there are no live shows. I think a lot of people are having the realization of like, oh wait, like we need live music, we need touring, we need all of these things to have a music industry, but to also have like motivated artists and consumers. Like it's so important. I think people are like right now realizing that more than ever. And I know I am too, for sure.
Yeah, right. So you came into town in 2016, right? Was that the year you started school, the fall of 2016?
2017.
2017? Okay, cool. So and then you immediately started playing live, you said, like pretty frequently. I remember, like I said, I saw your post and I was like, she's playing every day. Like you were on the grind. When did you start touring? Or, because I know you've been on a few tours in the last year or two, I believe, right?
Yeah, I didn't start like officially touring until I went with you guys.
To EGN?
That was the first like week tour situation I had ever done. Like I had gone and like, played shows like in different states and different cities, like on the weekends and like, taking trips to play shows and stuff like that. But I had never done any kind of official tour until that. Cool. Since, I had the EP out and I had like something like to promote and play. And I honestly like had no idea how to even go about planning a tour on my own. And so I think having, people like you and Bryce and Grand Sma who have done it so much, like really helped me. Like, I could not have done it without you guys. I really cannot have. And like, I mean, Bryce, like you and Bryce really like planned most of it and like figured out where we were staying, where we were playing, because it was just something I had never done before. And I think that was when I realized like, this is what I want to do. And was so fulfilled, like playing shows every night and meeting so many amazing like-minded people was like, just, you can't compare that to anything else. So I always look back on that week and like, it's so special.
It was very special. So that tour, that was that about a year ago?
Yeah, that was like, it was last August.
August, right? I wonder if we can find the date. So basically, we were on our way to the second annual Everybody's Got Nipples Music Festival in Charleston, South Carolina, run by Beware of Dog, which is like which is 4 women who are putting on like amazing shows and like being really just great promoters in the DIY scene in Charleston. Yeah, I think that was, I'm gonna look it up. I think that might have been almost this exact time. But where else did we play on that tour? I remember playing in Asheville at that
Mm-hmm.
record store.
Yeah.
You remember anywhere else that we played?
I know we played Chattanooga and we
Cool.
stayed with Julia. Um,
Yes, we played at the Spot coffee
yeah,
shop.
that was the first stop we made. Played
Hmm.
Asheville. I'm trying to remember where.
Yeah, I feel like we played some other dates, but I can't remember. I remember we stayed in Greenville with some
Yeah,
people, but I can't remember where we would have played in Greenville.
we played a house show. That was like
In Athens.
yes, yes. And it was
Yeah.
super last minute. And we like, one of you guys like knew the girl that lived in that house. And we didn't have a show that night. And then it ended up just like working out, I think, like the day of. And then it was so, so fun.
Yeah.
And then we just stayed there. And it was so fun. They were so nice.
That was a really special night. I remember we still talk about that when I talked to them. Like that was just, they were really, I wound up playing some songs and
Yeah, you and Graham both played.
yeah, and like other people who were just like in the crowd were like, I could play a song.
Yeah. I
That
love
was special.
it. It was so
So
special.
then after that, you did another tour with Gatlin, right?
Yes, Gallon and I did a tour in last December, I think. Yeah, it was right around Christmas. And we started it in my hometown, which is St. Michael's, Maryland. And so like Joe and I were already there, and Gatlin, Sean, Grant, Leah packed in this like in Gatlin's tiny, tiny little car with like all of their stuff. I don't know, I still don't know how they fit in there, but they did. And they drove straight from Nashville to my house, which is like a 12-hour drive. And they got to my house and we stayed at my parents' house, and it was so fun. We played a show there at this like little coffee shop, and like all my friends and family came out to it. And then the next place we played was Joe's house in
Oh,
Hampton,
cool.
Virginia, which is like 2 hours from me. So we played at his family's house, and that was really sweet too. And then
How
we went to,
fun.
it was so fun. It was so sweet. We did like DC. Um, I don't even know where else.
Yeah, right. That's kind of a different region than the first tour.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, definitely different, but it was fun.
That's cool, man. That is so cool that you and Gatlin got to tour together too. I think that's a really cool pairing.
Yeah,
Gatlin also just put out Sugar Coated, her EP, which is so good.
so good. I am so excited for her.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
she is
am too.
killing it.
She is killing it. We got to listen to, and we were on tour in maybe it was December. You were on Acme Radio,
Oh yeah.
and we were on tour. We got to listen to it. It was really sweet. You said some really nice things about all of us, and it was just cool getting to hear you on there, getting a little bit more like local, pretty amazing local exposure through
Yeah.
Acme Radio. What a cool opportunity.
Acme Radio has been so awesome. Any interaction I've had with anybody that works there has always been just like super nice and accommodating and welcoming. So that was really fun to go on there and just kind of like chat with them and play some songs. So yeah, doing stuff like that is always fun. Just getting to like meet some new people and talk about like what's going on.
Yeah, right. You're really good at that too. Do you feel like as a music artist, are there other types of artistry or ideas that you want to pursue, like other art forms or in
Yeah.
in your long life and career of music, like are there other things that interest you?
Yeah, I think I could definitely see myself branching out like in the writing area. Like I think if anything, like even just like writing poetry, I feel like fits
Cool.
really well with like writing songs. Like it's almost like songs are kind of poems in some ways. So I could definitely see myself like kind of branching out and doing some different stuff with my writing. I love like painting and drawing, but I would not say I'm good at it. But I love I love doing it,
Yeah.
just like as a fun activity. And yeah, I would love to do like a lot of more visual things. I don't know if I would necessarily, you know, be like the creator of them, but I think kind of helping like see out the vision for more visual aspects would be really cool. I know Future Crib today
Cool.
put out like they put out their EP yesterday, and then they put out like a one take video that like goes along with the EP.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think I haven't seen it yet, but Bryce told me that it's coming out today.
Wow.
So that like I feel like stuff like that is just so cool, like having a visual to go like with one song, but then like a whole EP. That is so cool to me. Like I
That
don't know.
is so cool.
Yeah, I feel like I love stuff like that.
Yeah, right. I'm always inspired by there's some local artists who also pursue like fashion, stuff like that, like Nikki from the Minx. Like,
Yeah.
I love keeping up with what she does with different like fashion and design. I think that would, it would be really cool to get more into that one day, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I've
Yeah.
seen a lot of people who will like resell vintage clothes. And I've always thought that would be so fun. Like you just go out, go shopping, and then you kind of like revamp some old clothes and sell them.
Yeah, right. Especially if you were good at like restitching or like repurposing. And you could also just like, I've seen some artists sell with their merch, like on their website, it looked like they'd have like a piece of their merch and then like also just like reselling other
Yeah.
clothing and like
That'd be
with the
really
records.
cool.
Yeah, that is cool. I get inspired by stuff like that too, especially during quarantine, you know, like what
Yeah.
have you found any other outlets during quarantine or just anything else to keep you motivated or even just like a show you like to watch on Netflix or something?
So I ended up going home like for 2 months over quarantine, which like I did not anticipate or expect at all.
Hmm.
I drove back with Joe and thought I was gonna be home for like 4 days. Literally packed like two t-shirts and some sweatpants. And then just with everything going on, it made sense to stay. So we ended up staying for a much longer period of time. And at first I was like
Wow.
super anxious about it, and it just like really threw me off. And then it ended up being such a good experience, just like having that downtime to spend with my family. Like I ended up just like really like soaking that up, because even when I do go home now, it's like we're always just kind of like running around doing our own thing between like work and seeing friends and my brother's at school. So like the fact that like we were all just home together
Yeah.
was really special. So I
That is
definitely like,
special.
yeah, I definitely focused on that. And then I found myself just like journaling a lot, like going on walks every day, just like all of
Nice.
these little things that I always want to do when I'm here, but then I just like end up getting really busy and don't make time for them.
Yeah.
Um, so it was honestly so nice, like to just have the time for all of those little things that like I had always wanted to make a priority. I felt like I finally like had the chance to do that.
Yeah. That's really cool. I definitely can relate to like using that extra time to do things that were kind of on my like or just things I always want to do more.
Yeah.
I've kind of gone through like a bunch of different phases. Like I'll get really into something, and then after a few weeks, I get really into something else. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I also feel like every 2 or 3 weeks I get hit with something heavy. Like I'll just like get frustrated or get disappointed or just depressed about
Yeah.
the whole thing. Just the whole. I just be like, I don't know what I'm doing, and then I'll
Mm.
find my way out for a while. But it's kind of just been on the loop for me. Have you been doing okay? Have you been hanging in there?
I think it's definitely been a very up and down, like emotional
Yeah.
few months. It's
Yeah.
just
Same.
so unpredictable. Definitely different than anything else I think like any of us have ever really gone through. Um,
Yeah.
and I mean, like even just with music, it's been like really unpredictable and weird. So I think like, you know, when I first went home, I was like trying to just process everything that's going on and like accept, okay, I'm going to be home for a bit. It's going to be fine. I'm going to go back eventually. And, you know, I'll get back into my groove and back with, you know, my people and stuff. So I think like the hardest part for me through all of this has just been like accepting the fact that like things have changed and, you know, plans have been canceled and life is just kind of weird. And I think after I like accepted it, I feel like I have felt a lot better lately than I
Yeah.
did at the beginning of this weird year. Yeah.
Yeah, right. In some ways, it seems a little bit like I'm getting a little bit more used to it, and I'm able to, in
Yeah.
those ways, like overcome it better on a day to day. Like it's like I'm more. I don't know. I feel that even maybe it's like with the coming of fall and with school
Yeah.
starting back, and just hope the season's changing a little, tiny bit, hopefully changing more soon. That it's brought a little bit more life, and I feel a
Yeah.
little bit more just steady than
Yeah.
I did, especially a few months ago.
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely me too. I think the past few months have been like, I think I've like grown a lot too in the last few months, which I like did not expect to happen. But I think just like having all of the downtime to myself, I think like one good thing that's come out of it is that like I feel like I've had the time to grow, which has been good.
Yeah, that's cool. And I'm sure it also is nice knowing that you've got these songs coming out. That always fills me with a little bit of excitement. And I feel like I can wake up and just push a little bit harder when I know that things are moving and things are being
Yeah.
in the process of being done. Are you, I'm curious with the new songs, like stylistically, like what the change like is going to sound like, or what can we expect, or what's inspired you to kind of change the palette a little bit, you know?
Yeah. So I think the EP and then the song January that I put out were definitely more kind of focused on like the song itself and the lyrics and the story. And with that being said, the production was a little more minimal and definitely more singer-songwriter, folky kind of vibes, just, so that it would be focused on the song.
Yeah.
And I think I had this desire. I don't know why or like when or where this came from, but I just like had this desire like sprung onto me that I wanted to experiment more like with the production side of things. And once I did that, I figured this sound would kind of change as well, which I did want to with the whole like collaborative craving I was having along with all of this. And so I just like went in with more of an open mind about like the production being just as important and just as like I guess experimental as like the lyrics were. So instead of like, okay, the lyrics are like up here and then the production is like important, but like the song is what matters the most. I like really wanted it to be more like, no, like the production and the song are kind of like equal and they're intertwined and like they're both
Mm.
equally as interesting and as important. Um, and I think that's like exactly what happened with Bryce. Like I had the song and then like we created this whole other like production element to the song that is like just as important. And I honestly think it's what makes the new song what it is the production that we did
Cool.
on it. So I think that's kind of like the main difference from like the older stuff to like this newer stuff. And I think I'm still kind of trying to figure it out exactly like what it is I want my like exact sound to be and what it is exactly I want to say. And I feel like I'm
Mm.
in the process of like of figuring all of that out, which is kind of fun and also kind of confusing at the same time. So I feel like that's kind of where I'm at with everything.
Yeah, that's cool. What about like your music taste? Do you feel like you listen to different music than you did when you were writing, your past work? Is there a difference in taste there?
I definitely think I've become much more open to listening to different kinds of music than I normally would, even just like listening to pop music. Like I feel like
Cool.
I never really listened to like even like like indie pop, alternative pop kind of stuff. And I feel like I've definitely been like diving
Yeah.
into that world kind of more, which has definitely influenced my songwriting from being like a little less folky to a little more like pop rock kind of
Yeah.
vibes, which is fun. I think like what you listen to definitely affects like what you're writing, which is really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that, and especially you said some of those songs off your last collection were written in high school. So that was a
Yeah.
long time ago.
Gosh. Yeah, and that's the thing too. I feel like just as a person, like you change so much, like even within 6 months. And I feel like, somebody's music really, really just shows that.
Yeah, I think so too. Beyond putting out these singles, do you have And, assuming things get better with the virus, do you have like a game plan for the next year, the next 3-5 years beyond just like making art and touring? Is there something bigger or
Yes.
I don't know, more far off?
Um, I'm gonna be completely honest. I do not have a very concrete plan at the moment,
Yeah.
but
No, that's cool.
I I know I'm gonna graduate in November. And in my mind, I was like, okay, I'll graduate in November, and then I can like plan a bunch of tours and plan a bunch of shows because like I won't have classes, so I can just like do whatever I need to do. But that kind of just depends on like what everything looks like. But
Yeah.
ideally, if shows, even if smaller shows, DIY shows, kind of start to like pick up again, I definitely would love to tour more next year since I will have more time. And I think branch out, like writing with new people. Like I definitely want to push myself to write with new people because I definitely lean towards writing alone or writing with people I'm really comfortable writing with. So I want to push myself to write with new people. Um, yeah, I mean, most of my plan, I feel like in my mind, is music oriented. I feel like other than that, my plan is to just stay in Nashville, probably move into a new place next year when my lease ends, and just kind of like keep the wheels rolling, keep doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I really love it, and I love like the people I'm around. So yeah, just
I
kind of
definitely don't think I don't think there's anything wrong with that answer. I think
yeah.
that I think that if anything, that might be an advantage. And I definitely feel the same way. I tell people all the time, I have no idea. I mean, I know I want to keep doing music. And so in a certain sense, I can gaze into the future and think that I have some sort of vision for what that means. But at
Hmm.
the same time, I just have no idea. And I will say, I mean, to be candid, I thought that I'd be in a lot different of a spot than I am now. Or
Yeah,
maybe in other ways, I am in the spot that I wanted to be in, but I can't but it doesn't feel like I thought it would.
yeah,
And that's not to say that I'm disappointed, but just that the process has taken a lot longer and
yeah.
weirder turns than I ever expected. And I don't say that really even being frustrated by it. It's just reality. Like I didn't realize how many different tiers and like levels there were to like what you do. Like I thought you put out a record, then all of a sudden you like got boosted up to being like a small indie band who played like at
Yeah.
Exit In. And then I'm like, wow, I've still never played Exit In. You know what I mean? It's just like just weird stuff like that. Like realizing, okay, maybe I need to just look more at the process and keep
Hmm.
making sure that I'm doing my best.
Yeah.
And because in some ways, it does seem a little bit out of my control where I end up beyond just the effort that I put in. And there's
Yeah.
other variables that are kind of out of my control, I suppose. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think too, even when you have a plan, especially like as a musician, or as a person in general, the plan never ever goes as you expect it to. And there's always twists and turns, and there's always things that pop up that you didn't expect, good or bad.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure a lot of people, I'm sure everyone had a plan, and then all of this hit this year and their plan was completely thrown off. So I feel like having a plan is great if it makes you feel better, but I don't know how much like really will happen of the plan, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, totally. It definitely like, I was talking to Bryce about that on the show. I was like, I feel like every piece of music, even that I create, and every tour, every night on tour, you think like when you're driving to the venue or you think when you're making a song in the studio it's going to be a certain way, and then at the end you're like, wow, that really wasn't what I was expecting at all, but I had a really good time, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly. And sometimes that's like the best moments are the ones that aren't planned and that like aren't written in the plan in your mind, are the ones that just kind of happen spontaneously. Um,
Yeah, right. I totally agree, and I think it's an exciting journey too. I'm definitely
yeah.
excited to see what you keep doing. I love your music. I loved when I got to play tambourine for you. That was so much fun, and I also love whenever you sang with me at Space Prom.
Oh my goodness, that was so much fun.
That was fun. We did, what did we do, 9 to 5?
9 to 5.
Yes, that was so fun.
That was so much fun. Oh my goodness, I loved every moment of that.
Yeah. Did you wind up? I remember you were trying to sneak someone in as like your manager or something. Did that wind up working?
I was going to sneak in Joe's little sister because she's 16, but But then I was like, I don't want her to like get there and then not be able to get in. So she ended up just going to hang out with her mom, just
Oh man.
avoid the conflict. But
That's
actually, I think she's 17. So next year she'll be 18.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe that we were able to pull off a space prom in 2020 with the way that the tornadoes destroyed that venue and the way that COVID has ruined live music.
That happened just in time. Like if you had planned it a few months later, I can't like it wouldn't have even happened. So crazy.
Yeah, right. It might actually be able to like successfully be a space prom in 2020 and 2021, depending on how things go, which is kind of crazy to think about when there's been so much devastation. And like Freeze Fest is gonna, look totally different, but it's okay.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes it makes it hard to like look ahead and have a plan because it is so unpredictable. But I think
Right.
having like something to look forward to definitely like pushes me through and helps me get through. Like even just having a song coming out, I'm like, okay, that's one thing I'm looking forward to. That's one thing I have planned for sure. And I feel like having a few things like that really, really helps.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. It is, I think that's why I do think like it's weird. It seems like a contradiction because I say that I don't really have any like long-term plans or goals, but at the same time, I consider myself a goal-oriented person. Like most of what I do is like dependent upon me setting a goal and then trying to get there. That's why I book these crazy tours that are like 50 shows in 50 days because I think it's just a really fun way to like inspire yourself with a crazy goal to like
Yeah.
reach that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I also feel like I am a goal-oriented person. So I feel like I guess having goals is kind of the same thing as having plans.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah,
I've never really thought about it that way before.
I guess goals is just more of like phrasing it in a way that's like you're trying to work to achieve that, whereas a plan might seem more like just like a thing you're going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. But they are similar. What's your Enneagram? Do you know your Enneagram?
Okay. So I have taken it twice, and both times that I've taken it, I've gotten 3 wing 4.
That's what I knew. That was my guess. 3 wing 4. No joke.
Is that what are you?
I'm a 3 wing 4.
Aww.
Yeah, right. I never meet other 3 wing 4s, but I just felt like you're the only person who ever asked on the show, but I just knew that we'd be the same number.
That is so funny. And I took it like a year apart, and I was wondering, I was like, like I wonder if I'm gonna get the same thing because I feel like I've changed a lot in the last year. And then I got this same exact.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, this means something.
Yeah, to me it makes sense to me for both of us because it's like when you read about threes and how they are goal oriented and they're very like
Yeah.
success driven, but when you have that 4 wing, that it's like this tapping into like your emotions and
Yep.
like your feelings. And when I think about artistry and how we both kind of roll with and maneuver in it, it is a lot about like setting a goal, but like it's also based on like a vision that we think would like help us out like in an emotional way and create like an emotional response.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely, as much as I am like goal oriented and like success driven, which I feel like can be a good and bad thing. Um,
Hmm.
I definitely am also like a super emotional driven person as well. And I
Right.
think my emotions like sometimes drive too many of my decisions, or same thing, like it can be a good or a bad thing. So I feel like when I read the description for 3, I was like, okay, yeah, like I feel like this does fit me like in my career life, but maybe not so much like in my personal life. And then when I read the wing 4 thing, it like brought it all together, and I was like, yeah, this makes sense.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's crazy. I oftentimes wonder how I ended up this way because I don't feel like anyone else in my family it nearly cares as much about like goals and like cares as much about like I'm
Yeah,
always trying to implement unnecessary like structure in that kind of in like a goal kind of way to like even my family and like relationship dynamics
yeah,
personally, and I'm always just like, where does this come from and like why am I the only one in my family who is this way? I truly have no idea.
yeah. I don't know either. I feel like I feel like, yeah, my family, none of my family are really artists. I think we're similar a lot, like in our an emotional way, but not so much like maybe like a career way.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think like one bad aspect that can come from like being a 3-wing 4 and being like super that's driven is like feeling defined by your art and like by your success and like letting that like
Yeah.
define you when like it really doesn't, and it really shouldn't, because like you're defined by who you are as a person and like how
Right.
you love others and treat others, and who you are is not your art. But I think sometimes I feel like it is, and I feel like the amount of streams I have on Spotify
Right.
or the amount of followers I have defines who I am, and that's not the case. So I definitely, I don't
Totally.
know, I don't know if you can relate to that, but I struggle with that sometimes.
Yeah, I relate to that. And when I like, go to church or whatever, I'm like, why, or just spend time, focusing on spiritual things.
Yeah,
Even though I know they're a part of everything, but when you really are like spending time to like dwell on it, I'm like, I don't feel like I'm called or like that I'm supposed to be putting weight in those kind of things. But at the
yeah,
same time, I feel like there's a lot of power in it that can be used for good when you're
yeah,
like so driven and determined. But it's just like I definitely feel like I'm still very early on in like a lifetime of trying to comprehend what that means and how to use that determination that I have.
I definitely, I think it's like it's a journey, like figuring out just how to like process all of your emotions in general. Like I definitely feel like it just like you just have to learn about yourself, and like I think it takes a lifetime to truly figure out how to handle your personal emotions and like figure out who you are.
Yeah.
We're so young. Like sometimes I feel like I'm
Yeah.
so old and like I'm so behind. What am I doing? But like we're so young. Like we're babies in the scheme of the world.
We are babies. And hopefully I'll always be a baby. Hopefully when I'm 65, I'll still be a baby. Um, I love your family. I got to meet them in March. They came to obviously they came to your album release, and then they came to my after party afterwards, which was awesome. I spent the whole time talking to them from the beginning to the end of when they were there. They're so
I
cool.
will never ever forget that. Um, I love my family so much, and I just think it's so funny, and it's like so them to like I think you said to them, oh yeah, like you should come to like the party at my house afterwards. Um,
Totally.
and it did not surprise me one bit when they walked through the door with my like 15-year-old brother at the time, and he just like I remember he sat on the couch like on his phone, and like they were just talking to you and smiled the whole time, and they loved you guys, and like they
Cool.
loved the whole thing. Like I think they had so much fun. They really did, and they loved talking to you guys. But it was so funny to me.
That was it was funny, but it was also, yeah, it was great. I mean, I invited them and I was genuinely wanted them to come, but I know that most of the time adults don't take me up on that. They're like, oh no, we won't come. But the fact they did made me so happy. I was like, this is what I've always like I wanted them there so bad. And when they came, I felt so fulfilled, and it was just really good getting to talk to them. Your family seems really, really sweet and really special.
They really are. They are amazing and supportive and loving people. I love them.
I hope I get to see them again sometime. That's cool. You get to spend a couple months with them during quarantine.
It was so sweet. Hopefully they'll be back to Nashville sometime soon. I know they want to come and visit. We'll all have to get together.
Yeah, I would love that. And please tell them I said, hey, I really appreciate you coming on today. This has been really cool getting to talk to you.
I'm so happy that I got to come on. This has been amazing.
Yeah, I'll be keeping up with all your songs, and hope everyone else will too. Anyone who's listening, let's plug real quick your social media. Let's see,
Yeah.
what is your Instagram handle?
Kelsey Abbott Music.
Kelsey Abbott Music on Instagram. Then obviously you can find Kelsey Abbott on Spotify, any streaming service.
Yep.
You've got
All the things.
Dreaming with My Eyes, and then you've got your latest single, January. New singles coming soon, as well as the Treehouse session, which they can find
Yeah.
on YouTube as well.
Yes.
which is really cool. Those treehouse sessions seem really, really awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Thanks for talking with me. Hope everyone keeps up, and hopefully I can talk to you again soon on here, as well as just see you soon. 'Cause I
Yeah,
miss you.
love to get together soon. I miss seeing you.
Yeah, I miss seeing you too, for real.
We'll make it happen.
I love you.
I love you, Freeze.
Talk to
See
you later.
you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.